Well, I mean, I guess first of all, regulation is broadly a good thing in the sense that once you actually put a regulatory framework, you give confidence to the consumer as well, right? I think one of the things that one could make an assumption as to what's happening in some of these unnamed places, as you say, is the lack of regulation actually removes or sort of creates a kind of concern and doubt, and also basically doesn't give it any legitimacy, because the moment you start to regulate it, you give it legitimacy, regardless of how strict the rules are, because you're basically acknowledging that this is an asset, that this is something that is going to be here to stay, and you have to find a form of regulation. Now, I actually think the exchange, sort of the rules for the exchange, I mean, hash key, then there's of course there's a bunch of other basically exchanges that have already received it. And again, you have to remember this stuff really only really sort of kicked off in really early November, effectively. And in that time, not only are there crypto ETFs, the HKMA already issued a tokenized green bond. The monetary authority actually sent out a notice to banks, as you may have recalled, that said, "Hey, you got to start doing business with crypto companies, and you got to sort of be smart about it, as opposed to just simply saying no." I mean, I think it's probably the only regulator that has sent a message across multiple banks. HSBC, which is one of the world's largest banks, basically now started to allow the purchase of these crypto ETFs to their clients as well. So there's a lot of development that's happening throughout, and it's actually a very welcoming climate. And the main thing is that it's not just about the exchanges. That's only one component. And these are probably the ones that do require the most regulation, just because of everything that's happened. I don't think that's a bad thing. But it also invites all the other industries around it, because what's happening in other places where regulation isn't clear, it affects businesses who are making NFTs, for instance, who are doing blockchain gaming, who are doing sort of crypto art, for instance. I mean, these are not, by any stretch, should be considered as something risky or problematic. But in those places where there's no clear regulation, people are fearful. Whereas in Hong Kong, at least, you can say, oh, well, okay, fine. So they've made it very clear NFTs aren't going to be regulated, for instance, in the classic sense, and they're welcome to do business, and they can just open up. And by the way, they can open up a bank account as well, which is another big thing, because in many crypto companies struggle to open bank accounts, frankly, anywhere in the world, just because of all the concerns that have been put out by some other places in the world that shall not be named.